Well, we're going live. I gotta fix the phone thing on here. We're live. Hi, guys.
We are live. Letting the channel build with viewers. Yeah?
Yeah, because I gotta do couple things on here, so.
She's continuing to set up.
Colorado Donkey Watch.
Hello. Hey, what's going on, Donkey? Hello, everybody in Jamaica.
Toad.
Everybody over there in Australia. Everybody on the South Galaxy.
Yeah.
Just start calling out random.
Hey, it works.
Space, time, space areas. And everybody back in the 1500s. What's going on? We're sending this transmission back in time. Right? You can do that, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Let me get around that.
She's working on her
Or just
temporal transmitting device to broadcast to medieval times.
All right.
No, I'm just being silly as she's continuing to set up. Tell me when you've got your stuff ready.
Oh, I'm ready. And I'm fielding some lovely comments.
Yeah.
Some awesome comments, and then some that are just like whatevers.
Sure.
It's funny, YouTube asked me if I want to show certain comments, if they like call us names and make fun of us.
Oh,
and
yeah?
I'm like, yeah, show it, whatever.
Cool.
All right. Donkey's sharing this in Discord for us.
Oh, cool.
Thanks, man. Central Civilian Auditors, John Galt, JD, DW, D-Toad. What's up, people?
Hey.
Johnny, Jason, Gazelle. Oh. Oh, I see someone had a haircut. No, I didn't, actually. It's about the same length as it was.
I'm wanting to trim it.
I need
Maybe
to.
donate it.
Yeah, no, they're talking about you, and they love the new look. A comfort. I love the new look.
Ah, thank you. It was
What's up?
time. It gets to a point where I spend a lot of time playing with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to chop it off. And then,
Yes. Clark Kent, where's the beard?
yeah.
Honest Open Permaculture. Hi.
All right.
Looking good, Donkey says. Real Jingy. Hey, cheers. Good to see you two here. Cheers, everybody. Love the work you do, Blind Justice. Great team.
Cool. Well, do you want to, sounds like coffee's done or
No.
water? Which one? Something's done making a lot of noise in there. Is it the water heater?
Yeah. Or it blew a fuse.
Okay.
I'm going to go find out. You have to talk, because they're going to keep talking to you, and I'm
Yeah.
going to walk away, and then
Alright.
you guys are at...
Hey, everybody
Just-
down in
Oh,
Jamaica.
no.
I already said Jamaica.
You already said
Man,
Jamaica, Bermuda, Bahamas.
Focus on Jamaica for some reason. Everybody in New Zealand, what's going on? All those Atlanteans that are tuning in from under the sea. What's up? All those Yetis in the frozen tundra. Keeping it chill. Now we've been talking about dependence and independence, codependence, and interdependence, just kind of off and on here locally, and so we were kind of discuss that a little bit today. We have gonna have a special guest. We're gonna get on the phone here in a little bit once we briefly set up the premise, and link to that channel is in the description, I believe, at least a couple of videos that he wants to highlight, and that's Honest Open Permaculture. So we're gonna call him here in a few minutes, but if so that stuff's in the description. So dependence.
Hi, Nolly.
What is dependence?
Oh, you're asking me again? Dang it. Let's see. What's up with the trolls here today? I don't know. Trolls need love too, y'all. It's all good.
Yeah, anybody can answer.
Yeah.
What do you think dependence is? The word dependence.
Dependence.
I'm not talking about...
Not depends.
Yeah.
Crater Maker wants you to make a sexy calendar, similar to fireman calendar by wearing suspenders and tight pants and no shirt.
All right.
I'm assuming that was to him.
We'll do it, and then we'll make it in Braille.
Make it in Braille. Like a 3D printer to... All right. Dependents need to be assisted.
Okay.
Donkey.
Reliant upon something, maybe?
Depend?
Yeah. Having to depend on something else, right?
Sure.
Being reliant upon another person or system or thing. Okay. So independence.
Not reliant on those things. Beat ya.
Right, yeah. And it's synonymous with...
The necessity of another.
Freedom, yeah.
Freedom, yeah.
So you can kind of extrapolate from that. For more freedom, you have less dependence, right? Or you're less dependent on things. Yes?
Jason Buckley. Independence equals free, all caps, multiple exclamation marks.
Perfect. Yeah, so true freedom, I don't even know if we can fully comprehend what that really is. Because ironically, our ability to have cognition and wherever our consciousness is, and that gets funneled through our brain and then through our language, and then ultimately however we choose to communicate that, they're all limitations, right? It's basically like taking an idea wherever the idea space is and then figuring out how to transmit it is all more limiting and limiting and limiting until we get to a word, which is limiting in and of itself by a limited scope of definition, right? So I don't think we can fully comprehend what freedom is, but we can try our best to describe and discuss the thought.
Cybertron super chatted $2.
Hey, Cybertron, appreciate
Thanks,
it.
man.
So if it's independence, right, then freedom would be without restraint, without constraint, without a reliance or dependence on other things, other systems, other people, other ideas, right? It can stand alone. It's just free to move and do whatever. Now, what about codependence? Codependence. What about that one?
More than one relying on each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Typically, you think of like a codependent relationship, right? And that's less. It could be symbiotic, right? It could be a parasitic exchange, right? A parasite is dependent on the host. The host isn't necessarily dependent on the parasite, so that's where that one falls apart. If it's a symbiotic relationship, then it could have started out as a parasite, but then have some form of integration where the parasite is performing a function that enhances the life of the organism. They're like fish that work symbiotically with sharks, right? Will swim along the fin of a shark and help clean off the shark, and things that birds and things that do that with alligators, and so there's plenty of examples of this in the animal kingdom. But then in humans, codependency typically is a relational thing that, from my experience and review, has been is usually pretty destructive. And typically it manifests. It's not always destructive. But I think it's more common than not, and you have this. It manifests really where a person's trying to be fully themselves, but has all these deficits or areas they can work on to improve, and instead of working on improving to be fully realized self, they say, well, these are just my flaws, these are my issues, and I'm gonna let my partner work on those and somehow fix me, right? And they're gonna have to deal with my baggage, my issues, my stuff, and then it's vice versa. And so it's like this trying to get to 100% person with 50% and 50%, and that doesn't really add up, right? That's not how that really works out in the real world. For instance, if I give you a weather report that says 50% chance of rain, and you go to get a different weather report and says 50% chance of rain, doesn't mean that we add it together and have 100% chance of rain.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's codependencies, typically this vicious cycle of not actually addressing the issues that you have to try to get to a whole realized reality yourself.
Brooklyn Top 3 super chatted $10.
Thank you, Brooklyn.
Thanks, Brooklyn.
Appreciate it. So then interdependence. So we talked about dependence, independence, codependence. Interdependence is a term that is really an underlying interconnectedness of everything. So you're talking to the quantum physics level, superpositioning or non-locality, and in terms of everything at the quantum level overlapping, and whether it be space and time, space, or matter and energy being one and the same, interchangeable, and that there's just this overlap. And you can look at interconnectedness, for instance, whatever I have here to drink, this tea, right? And we can go, if you've ever played like 6 Degrees of Kevin Bacon, if you know that, right? That game. So if you don't know that game, it's pretty fun. You think of a movie that doesn't have Kevin Bacon in it, right? And then you name the movie, and then somebody in the group has to name another movie that has an actor, where there's an overlap.
I'm really bad at this game.
Where there's interconnectedness, right? Where there's and then eventually you find an actor that's been with an actor that's been with an actor. You have to do it within 6 linkage, and you can do it and get Kevin Bacon, right? Some people theorize that you can do that same thing and be able to talk to anybody on the planet, right? I can go through my pool of people that I have connected with, and can call on the phone and actually speak my voice to their voice and say, hey, I'm trying to reach this person, reach out to your people and see, and within 5 or 6 links of that, somebody in the chain is going to be able to talk to the person that I want to speak to on the planet. It's crazy, just how interconnected we are. We're going back to the tea. The mug was made somewhere, and the material for the mug was harvested somewhere, maybe somewhere else, and then the people involved with harvesting that gave it to somebody to potentially ship to the people that are going to use the material to make the mug, and then the people that made the mug have to package it. They have to get their materials from packaging it from people who are harvesting materials to make the packaging, right? Same thing with the trucks that are involved, or the equipment's involved with harvesting the material. All those metals for whatever the trucks had to be dug up in an ore somewhere, and all the people involved with that. So all this interconnectedness, this interdependence of, if you're using anything, even the resources of the planet, if you're just eating fruit, you're harvesting not only if you didn't do anything to put into the ground, it just happens to be growing by the side of the road. There's rain that's gone into that. That rain has been, that water has been cycled throughout the planet, and it's touched lives of everybody on the planet. The other nutrients going into the planet, or going into the plant to make the fruit, has had this cycle of interconnectedness. So that's interdependence. Kind of blew up the interdependence discussion a little bit further than I intended, but independence is really what we want to focus on right now. And so I think we're about to call our friend here, and I think we can learn to be more free. We can learn to be less dependent on systems, especially violent systems or coercive systems, or things that are where you have less input and decision-making process on those systems. You're forced into doing business a certain way, so you're less free, right? So that's the search for independence. We're trying to find out ways to live free and pass on those ways to our audience to say, hey, you can live free in this way. For instance, energy independence, right? You can harvest energy from the sun. You can harvest energy from the wind, from water, from the ground. There's ways of harvesting energy to be energy independent, so you're not at the whims of the energy companies charging you prices, whatever they want to charge you. There's... What?
Sorry. Taz just said, I thought Mike would have his beard back by now.
Hey, Taz. Taz needs to come. We went out Friday to Olympia, Washington. So there's a video I think we popped out today. We'll probably have another one or two going to pop out soon with that collaboration. Yeah, fun time with Taz. Shout out to Taz there. But yeah, there's different ways for us to learn to be free. Free of systems of control that we're dependent upon, right, or that we're contributing to and perpetuating and causing suffering of others. There's different ways to be free. So the topic for today's independence, and we can go ahead and we're going to get our friend on the phone. Sure. The topic for today's is...
I just texted your phone.
Okay. Is food independence. And our friend Bill, he has a farm in North Carolina. We're trying to get him on the phone right now.
I'll put him by you.
All right.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on, Bill?
Hey.
You guys, can you guys hear okay?
You're live with us on the stream, and we're just kind of setting the stage. Talked about dependence, independence, interdependence, codependence, and we talked about food independence. Learning to be free from all these other systems where people get their food, or what other companies call food. So tell us a little bit.
Right.
I told the audience that you have a farm in North Carolina, and that's it so far. So tell us what you got going on up there.
Well, first I want to say thank you guys for letting me be on the channel, for letting, reaching out to me and asking some questions about food independence. I really appreciate it. I like what you guys are doing over there. And I just want to thank you guys for talking to me about this.
Yeah.
Well, I run it's a permaculture farm. Well, I guess we can talk about what permaculture kind of means first.
Yeah, so permaculture, tell us about that.
It's kind of two words mixed together. It started off as permanent and agriculture, and has kind of morphed into a different meaning of permanent and culture. So when most people hear the word permaculture, they think of agriculture at first.
Right.
But since this saying permaculture had came out in the late 70s, it has kind of morphed into more of a culture with people instead of just with agriculture.
Right.
So I'm really trying to grow food systems, trying to figure out how we can have self-reliant food systems, use animals in those systems, easy systems, not like when most people think of growing food, they think of, it takes so long, it's hard to do.
Yeah.
I'm trying to create systems that anyone can do in their backyard, or even in a planter box in their equipment, things like that.
Yeah, one of the first things I think you told me about was growing stuff in like 5-gallon buckets.
Yep. Yeah, I started off in the city, and I just started off with a small garden, and it went from a small garden to collecting buckets and planting in buckets and planting fruit trees and planting blueberry bushes, and I just ran out of room. And I figured out this is what I wanted to do instead of working for a pizza chain at the moment.
Yeah.
Slaving away to them.
Yeah.
And I kind of transitioned into that. And now we're out here working the farm trying to figure out food for. Like I have a small food forest I built about a year and a half ago.
Yeah. Now, so you're
And we're
saying
working that.
you're saying the term food forest, and that's a permaculture term. Correct me if I'm wrong on anything. And so for the audience, like there's all kinds of channels dedicated to the idea and principles of permaculture, and there's a whole bunch of overlapping things with agriculture, animal husbandry, fruits and vegetables. A food forest is what basically explain that just in simple terms for people.
Well, to me, a food forest is like if you would go and look at the forest out in the wild, and it's grown with a bunch of oak trees or a bunch of pine trees or a bunch of whatever the main tree has taken over. We can look at that, and then we can mimic what that forest did to be able to become dominant in that one species. We can mimic that and design that to where the dominant species is food-producing species.
Right. Yeah.
So we can take apple trees as the high story, and then we can take pawpaw trees, which is an understory, and then we can go down further and we can take bushes like blueberries and currants and blackberries as the next story, and you can go down even further to a ground cover.
Yeah.
And you can go inside the ground as roots.
Yeah.
I mean, so
you're basically
looking-
you're finding something that's already abundant in nature, and it's already like dominant, has its own ecosystem or microclimate, and you want to
Right.
recreate that and make every level that you can produce food.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's looking at nature and reproducing what nature has already done. Permaculture isn't a new thing. It's been done for thousands of years. It's been around for millions of years. It's just got a name and a theory put to it in the late 70s when Bill Mollison and David Holman came up with the term permaculture. So it's, ancient tribes have used it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I caught
looking at nature
that
and
one
nature's
video.
repetition.
I caught that one video you made of an ancient Aztec technique. You kind of make like a floating island with channels all around.
Yeah, the land that I bought is a pretty wet land. So I was thinking, and most people when they think of wetland, they're like, oh man, you can't do anything with that. That's just wasteland. You don't do anything with it. You let it sit. So I was researching on what can I do? What can I do with this land? How can I produce food out of this part of the land? And I came across some documentary about the ancient Aztecs on how they grew on top of lakes. And I was like, if they can grow on top of lakes, why can't I grow here? So
Yeah.
I was taking some of their methods and pulling out some of the earth and building up a mound and then growing on that mound. So
Yeah, so to expand on the permaculture, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, because I've since you turned me onto it, I've done some research and listened to a whole bunch of videos and things over the last
Right.
few years, and my understanding is you basically take a piece of land and you want to kind of study what's already naturally happening with the land, right? Where the sun moves across, where the best lighting is,
Right.
where the winds come through, where the highest winds are, the temperature, throughout the seasons, where the natural rain is and water systems are happening, like the water. If there's a hill, if there's a slope, like where it channels, where it gets stuck, and things like that. And then you just kind of
step number one, yes sir.
yeah. So you kind of take an assessment of what the land is. And then you want to say, well, what do I want to do with it, and how can I make this land work into a system where there's, you're not working against the machine, right? You're working with
Yeah.
the process that's already going on.
Instead of making it, it's what is the land showing me that I can do to the land.
Yeah, and then you just kind of go from there and build your system to try to support itself. Like you said, having outer barriers for wind, with the bigger, building up for wind blocks and things like that, and diverting the water where you want it to pool, and so you don't have to.
Water's one of the biggest things in permaculture. I mean, on this planet, where there's no water, there's no life.
Mm-hmm.
So water with your climate is one of the biggest things. As far as, and then that kind of goes into more than just agriculture, because you can have water harvesting systems
Yeah.
that can supply your drinking water,
Yeah.
supply your bathing water, supply all your water for your plants.
Yep.
For your animals. It's more than just agriculture design now, because you can design that to your house
Right.
and onto your buildings and things like that. So you can become more independent. If you have water independence, that's a huge aspect.
Right.
Everybody needs water.
Yeah.
That's one of the 3 days. That's one of rule 3. 3 days without water, you're done.
Yep.
So
Yeah, so tell us more about your channel, and it's Honest Open Permaculture, and like how long you've been doing the farm, and like what do you expect for the year?
Yeah. Let's see, I've been on the farm for about 2.5 years now. I started doing the channel, really dedicating to it about the end of October, beginning of November. I really wanted to get some practical information, practical learning under my belt before I really started talking about what I was doing.
Yeah.
So I've been doing this for about 2.5 years. I raise pigs, I raise chickens, ducks. I teach people how to use your pigs, use your chickens, use your ducks.
Right. So they're not just isolated. They're part of the system of tilling the ground and fertilizing the ground and everything like that, right?
Yep. Like instead of using a bush hog, I have 600-pound hogs that'll go through and rip up anything I need.
Yeah.
They can go through and clear blackberry briars, and I can send the chickens in after them. They'll till up after them, and I can plant. So on permaculture, you want to, I guess a thought behind permaculture is that you want to have multiple uses for everything that you do. So like my pigs, they're a source of income because they're self-pasture raised pork.
Right.
They're a tiller. I sell the babies also, so they're another source of income there. They're meat for my family. They're meat for other families that may need meat. And the same thing for my chickens and anything else I do on the farm. I try to stack those functions as much as I can in permaculture.
Right.
And one thing that I really like about permaculture is it's a design system that's based in ethic. There's 3 principal ethics in permaculture, which I think most people would agree with. Number 1 is taking care of the planet, which is all of the animals, the plants, the water, everything, and the planet. Number 2 is taking care of people.
Right.
Not just giving someone to eat, but giving someone information on how to grow their own food.
Right.
Or simply passing information along.
Give a man a fish.
Taking care of your fellow man.
Yeah, give a man a fish versus teaching a man to fish, right?
Right. And then the third ethical principle they have is, it gets kind of hairy there. It's fair share, which means all the access goes back to people and goes back to the earth.
Right.
And the fair share kind of gets hairy for some people because they think they deserve more than other people, or they think they should hoard more than other people. And fair share isn't right when there's waste.
Right.
It's like a city, on how much waste there is in a city. There's not a fair share in a city. If you go in the forest, there's no waste in the forest.
Yeah.
Everything that dies is food for something else.
It's recycled and used and put back in the system.
Yep. So those ethics, I really like those ethics. They're a good way to think about it, and not just to design an agriculture system, but also design, a city, a small town, community of people.
So I almost see that third ethic as kind of being an essential piece of the first two, the planet and then people. I think that's an essential piece. If you're exploiting, anything with the planet or exploiting people, there's going to be waste, and it's usually going to be at the expense of the people you're exploiting, and so if you can find a way to work harmoniously with the system to benefit and not just exploit, the animals and animal husbandry, but actually give them a quality of life and allow them to basically earn their keep and do do work as part of the system that they're a part of, and they're a happy animal. And same thing with people. When you help them figure out ways to be independent and less reliant on other people controlling markets and access to food. I think people are definitely overall more happy when they are free. And
absolutely, and food independence is a big part, because right now we depend on our grocery stores. So most people depend on grocery stores. Most people depend on their tap water.
Yeah.
And if those things go down, those are the things they're willing to die to protect.
Yeah.
And that's not in their hands at the moment. So, but if you build a food system for yourself, if you harvest your own water, if you harvest your own energy, those are things that you are willing to protect and that are, in my opinion, yours and yours that you share with everybody else on your terms instead of our government's terms or our big corporation terms.
Right.
That's the price for everything.
Yeah. Your leverage is you have way more leverage if you're independent, if you have these systems that you're managing, and especially if you set up and you put into
right.
and you're invested into, and
right.
you're
and
free.
That's why I'm trying to do the channel, is to try to show people that you can grow your own food no matter where you are, no matter what size lot you live on, no matter what climate you're in. There's a big permaculturalist named Jeff Lawton. Bill Mollison, one of the founders, has kind of passed the torch off to him, and he's greening deserts.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they're actually turning deserts back into food-producing places.
Yeah,
so
there's
these permaculture ethics and these permaculture principles, once you dive deeper into it and see what the principles are, can work anywhere.
Yeah, there's a few YouTube videos out there. Anybody interested in, I think, would you say, was it Jeff Lawton, is that right?
Yeah, Jeff Lawton.
Yeah, the greening the desert. You look up permaculture greening the desert, and you'll find one. I think they did one in Jordan, and then
in the Middle East.
Yeah, in the desert.
Not exactly sure.
Right, it was by the Dead Sea, like so, just a few miles from the Dead Sea, like arid place, like the Dead Sea, like so salty, hardly anything grew, and they just the farmers that were growing, they had to irrigate and stuff, and then they would take all their deadfall, they would trim and prune and everything, and take it to the sides of the fields and burn it, and like.
Mm-hmm.
And they would have just a heck of a time trying to keep their systems going. And Jeff went over there. I don't know. It was back in the 90s, I think, and maybe early 2000s. And
yeah, it was early 2001.
Yeah, and then they're like, "Hey guys, you're wasting all this stuff that needs to go back into the system." And so they showed them how to do it, and they took a lot that was just not producing anything, and used these principles, and they went back after a few years and they literally re-greened the desert, and they did that in Arizona. So there's a few videos up there where they're doing that, where you can make your like microclimate by using these principles. Yeah. So cool, man. So honest open permaculture. What's the big goals for this year?
Big goals for this year. Oh man, we've got some big goals for this year, brother. We are trying to reach financial independence as well. So I am looking to produce as much income off the farm this year as I can, growing my own organic produce.
Yeah.
Financial independence, I mean, we're in debt. I'm trying to get out of that crap.
Yeah.
I realize that it's another weight bringing me down.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to be free until that weight's gone. So
oh, yeah.
That's a big thing that we're working on. Working on more systems, chicken systems, on how to grow with chicken systems and without chicken systems, systems that people in the city can use. Like I said, I used to live in the city, so I have a lot of little tricks that I used to do to grow in small spaces. I'll be producing some videos for that, like growing strawberries in a vertical area.
Yes.
Or things like that. So that's some of the big things we're working on this year.
Cool. And tell us about like how can people, if they're happen to be in your area, North Carolina, and you're like in the Piedmont Triad area, is that right?
Like we're in Germantown, North Carolina. It's a little small town right north of Winston-Salem.
Okay.
It's a small rural town, unincorporated town. We don't even have a stoplight in our town.
Yeah.
We've got one little grocery store that I provide support for, and they can reach me at our Facebook page.
Okay.
They can feel free to DM me anytime on Facebook at It's Hop Farm NC. You can also email me at hopfarmnc@gmail.
Okay, so it's Hop Farm NC.
Hop, H-O-P. It's the acronym for Honest Open Permaculture.
Okay, got it. So it's Hop Farm on Facebook, and it's Hop Farm NC on Facebook and Hop Farm NC at Gmail. And so if anyone's in the region and they want to try out, get some produce from you, you have something called a CSA, right? Are you still running a website for that, or how do they do that?
We'll be uploading it in our updated CSA this week on the website. You can go to hopfarmnc.com, and we have a CSA we do deliver.
Okay, explain
tours of the farm, so
explain what a CSA. Hold up. Hey, hold up for a second, Bill. Back up and explain what a CSA is, real quick.
Oh yeah, sure. CSA is a community-supported agriculture. What that is where the community buys into the farm pretty much. You're buying pretty much a share of what I'm going to produce that season, that 12-week season, or you can buy a 6-week season. I even have 4-week season buses. So
Cool.
You buy a share of the farm, and up front, so I can go ahead and make sure everything's good. So it's helping the farmer to make sure he doesn't produce all this food and not know where to sell it.
Yeah.
And it's also helping the person buying the food because they know they're getting healthy, organic, locally grown food that wasn't shipped in by a conglomerate company or anything like that. So
Yeah.
it really helps the farmer, and it's good for the local economy and building the unity like permaculture
Yeah.
is really about.
Yeah, I think there's been in the race to try to feed the world. Some scientists did some things with corn and soy and found some monocropping techniques to try to feed the world and eliminate hunger, and didn't foresee the catastrophe that monocropping and the GMO stuff reaps on the soil.
You're right about that.
And so we have like these, just a handful of companies that run most of the agriculture of the world, and exploit the other resources to try to keep the profits up. And it's not necessarily even about feeding the hungry anymore. Like the rainforests are being deforested so that they can grow monocrops in third world countries, and then they ship those corn and soy back to first world countries to feed to cattle, right? And so this
Cattle's not supposed to even eat corn.
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a funny thing.
Yeah, it's bizarre. Like some of the practices that we find ourselves relying upon now, dependent upon, are not sustainable long term for the planet, for the people. Like you said, the ethics of it are kind of the heart of it. And so, talk to us about that. And then right after that, we can take some phone calls if you're interested in having some viewers call, maybe ask you some questions. But talk to us about like the localism, like you talked about, community decentralization from these big power brokers that kind of rule the world as far as agriculture goes, and what you've been noticing since you've been getting into it with other people wanting to do the same, kind of find food independence and grow their own food and sustain themselves.
Yeah. Since I started this farm and kind of putting my name out there online, and starting the website, Facebook page, Instagram, all the common social media pages, people have been starting to find me. And I've been getting quite a few people wanting to come out and visit the farm and see how they can implement some of their own food growing systems.
Yeah.
And be able to create their own food locally. So there's local food being grown all over every city. Sometimes it takes a little bit of work to find.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not as local as I am to be able to find those people, but they're all over the place. And if you can find those local foods and support those local foods and learn from them and grow your own, it doesn't even have to start as you're going to grow all your food this year. It could start as, I'm going to plant one tree a year. Even if you rent, I'm going to plant one tree. Well, my landlord will let me plant one tree a year. Even if you don't have somewhere to plant, there is all kinds of parkways or medians in public areas that we can plant in. There's a guy named Ron Finley out of California.
Yeah.
That I watched a lot of his YouTube videos, and that's what he did in California. Is that he went out to the public
Yes.
breezeway, or not breezeway, parkway is what he calls it, and he started a small food forest in the public parkway.
That's great. You're probably familiar with the term guerrilla gardening.
Yes.
Yeah. So for the viewers, everybody listening, it's kind of the idea of like guerrilla warfare, but or not fighting. There's no violence involved. It's the opposite. It's gardening, doing it surreptitiously. Going out and planting a food producing bush or tree in the middle of the night, so you don't get arrested for planting something that's going to grow food for people that don't have food. Just to highlight the system of control.
Local, that's one thing you can do is figure out where you and there's a lot of local churches too that will do community gardens. There's a lot of local just towns that will do community gardens.
Yeah, I think
one thing I would definitely like in the future, maybe you and I can work on this in the future, is getting towns to maybe have a permaculturalist look at the town and see how we can adjust things to grow more food, for it to be more habitable for people. There's not such a food desert in our cities.
Right.
How can I get in there and present something like this? Because I think that's more of your alley.
Yeah.
than it is my alley.
It's definitely something that we've floated here locally, especially since there's been some local devastation at the historical building and armory burned into the ground over the summer, and there's been talks about what to do with that lot and then other places in town, especially since we have such a high percentage of people living on the street here, and we're like, hey, this is a great opportunity for looking at different systems that are sustainable and can alleviate some of the suffering here, so people aren't starving and freezing to death, like food forests, and just floating these ideas because they make so much sense if you're open to it. But if you're not, if you think, no, we have to have dependence, we have to be dependent on big pharma and big agriculture and big corporations to do everything for us. Like no. The idea of independence is learning to set yourself free from those controls and help others be free. So yeah, man, I'm loving having you on. Let's see if we can take some calls. Go to the phone line, if you're cool with that.
Yeah.
So the number is 360-226-6297 if you want to talk with Bill from Honest Open Permaculture. Tell him, ask him some questions about what he's got going on, about permaculture in general, or about his ideas on food independence or freedom.
Feel free. I'm an open book.
Yeah, so CSAs, man, there's a couple, while we're waiting on a phone call, if anybody wants to call in, if you want to type it in, or mods can probably jump on it, Christina.
They usually get it real quick.
Yeah.
I'll try to beat them.
Yeah, there's local farms here with us, and it's interesting, like, there's a lot of larger farms as well, and it's not just here, but we've lived, all over the U.S. and different places that we lived. It's some of these places that are known for farmland. Kansas and Tennessee and some of these places that are just beautiful country have these massive farms where they are subsidized. They're paid to basically not grow, or sometimes they're paid.
Unfortunately, in that case,
they were just talking
act
about
like that. That's the only way they can make money is to get subsidized.
Yeah. It's a very destructive system, not sustainable. It's very manipulative and coercive, and I think we've been finding this natural response that has been popping up, where more people have been doing what you've been doing, and saying, hey, you know what, this I can set myself free in these different ways, and it doesn't even have to be fully off grid. I know you're not fully off grid yet, right?
No.
Yeah, you can ease into it like you started in the city, and you're slowly finding pieces to replace the systems of dependence for more independent systems, and work your way to as much freedom as you can, and then share the ideas and help other people live free. And you don't have to, just because you're working towards that independence and off-grid, completely independent system, you don't have to live without the creature comforts. There's ways of
Oh no, absolutely not, man. I love technology. I use electric poultry nets, which this stuff is like high-tech stuff, man. I use solar energizers to just keep my pigs in.
Yeah.
This is just some like vinyl netting that keeps 700-pound pigs in. So I use streaming cameras to keep eyes on my mamas that have babies, because I breed my pigs.
Yeah.
So So I mean, I use technology. If it's going to help me, and yeah, I embrace technology. Absolutely, we wouldn't be doing this right here without technology.
Yeah. Is there this line working?
As far as I know, it's working.
Okay.
I can just touch
Yeah,
the chat.
it's not going back in the Stone Ages. It's just, I'm going to make a fire for warmth. And cook,
Yeah,
my,
some people get that.
Kill my meat and cook it. It's not what we're doing here.
some people think that way though. Some people, when you start talking about independence and freedom and you know being free from systems of control like the the monopolies that the public sector holds. You know, for instance, transportation. It's one of the first things. Like, how are we going to have the roads? You know, if we get rid of the Department of Transportation, and it's like you can't tell me we can't figure out collectively how to make a flat place from point A to point B. You know, like that. But it's just some of the arguments are just there because people just haven't given themselves freedom to think about anything other than the current system. And so when they hear, they hear food independence, they're like, well, what the hell does that mean? I don't have that much time to till the land and to build all these elaborate systems. But there's ways of making the, like you said, studying the natural progression of the sun and the seasons and the rainfall and learning your land and learning how to grow food sustainably, even if you don't have land, like you said, doing it in your house and small spaces. There are systems public land. There's systems available for people to learn, just taking the steps towards freedom, allowing yourself to think about that and take up personal responsibility, how to feed myself and my family. We got some comments or questions we can field?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Zombie 2 is super interested in guerrilla gardening, so they're asking about how to do that, and then also asking about what GMOs do to the ground because they said they got here late, so they were curious. But
yeah, did you get that?
I got the growing gardening, and I kind of missed what the second one was.
Yeah. So what's the handle?
Zombie 2X.
Zombie 2X is asking in chat about guerrilla gardening and ways of doing that, and then also some of the effects that GMOs are having on the soil and everything.
Okay, yeah, growing a garden.
No,
guerrilla gardening.
Oh, guerrilla gardening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Guerrilla gardening. I haven't done a whole bunch of guerrilla gardening, so personally, I couldn't speak on.
Well, I could speak.
About doing that.
I could speak to the guerrilla aspect. How about you speak to the gardening aspect? So what? How about that? What kind of produce would you recommend for something being viable with needing little input or little maintenance? Something that we could potentially plant, in a public space.
Let's see. Things that are also aesthetic. Always goes over well. Things like a bush. A blueberry bush has pretty flowers, and it puts off a pretty berry.
Yeah.
Things like sunflowers. Sunflowers are very pretty, but they also give a great seed that's very rich in nutrients.
Yeah.
That's good.
So you want to think about aesthetics first when you're going into it. You don't want to turn it into a jungle, turn it into an automatic food forest, and people get turned off to, what the heck is this? This looks like crap.
Right.
Why would you want to ease them into it first, show them the aesthetics. There's a bunch of pretty plants that flower very pretty, and then as far as planting in guerrilla, so like what kind of plants? What else would I choose? And it depends on where you are really. What's a native plant that's going to grow almost like a weed? Is it some sort of blackberry? Is it honeysuckle? Is it a fig tree that can grow in Florida?
Yeah.
Or it kind of depends on your area. In my area, what would I do in North Carolina? I would find cul-de-sacs, and I would plant annuals. I would plant things like strawberries. Everybody loves strawberries. Who's going to say no to a strawberry?
Right.
Blackberries
Yeah.
It's got a pretty flower.
For the guerrilla aspect of that, I would recommend learning traffic patterns and just doing a quick, maybe a couple week survey of traffic patterns in an area that you're thinking to plant. If you find a good plot of land that's not being used, it's not going to disturb anything. Making sure it's actually public. Check the survey. lines. And even checking, local ordinances and stuff to see if you get caught, if you happen to mistime it with traffic and everything, to see what kind of consequences you may be facing for trying to plant something to create food. But then having not just the planting aspect of doing it without being noticed or caught, but being able to inform people that, hey, this is actually food. Right. All right, we got a call coming in.
Cool.
Okay.
Hey, you're live with Blind Justice and Bill from Honest Open Permaculture.
Hey, how you doing?
All right. We got a
Foghorn that woke up the
Foghorn.
baby. I'll be right back.
yeah. We had a live a week or two ago where somebody did that. And they called in about like STD prevention or something like that. That's pretty funny. We just died laughing.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
So the other question from Zombie was what?
Oh, GMOs?
GMOs. Yeah.
Thanks. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah, not a big fan of GMOs.
Yeah.
Genetically modified organisms. As far as how you're modifying this organism. Now, the tomatoes we're eating nowadays weren't the tomatoes that we were eating. There weren't tomatoes 100 years ago. A couple hundred years ago. It's totally different, but those have been a breeding process
Yeah.
to get the traits that they want to be able to make the tomatoes that we want. Now, inserting some sort of fish enzyme or something like that into a tomato so it can live longer, have a longer shelf life, I'm not okay with.
Right.
Because not only is that going into the food, but that's also going into the exact tomato, it's going into the plant itself, which the roots are in the ground. And when that plant dies, it's going to release those GMOs into the ground, and it's going to stay in the ground.
Right.
So it's not something I use. It's not something I recommend. Can it be helpful? I think so, if it's used correctly.
Yeah.
But that's a very tight line,
Yeah.
I think.
Our studies on that have been similar, and when there's a lot of the monocrops and things are GMO'd, and so if the seed travels, because the seed's going to travel whenever the thing's seed, whether it be from wind or from animals moving the seed to an adjacent farm, and the adjacent farm is trying to do what you're doing, GMO free, you're screwed. You're at the whims of what's around you, and so that's something to consider if anyone's really interested in trying to do their own food production, being aware of your neighbors and what they're using and how close they are and what the winds are. That's part of your assessment, like we talked about at the beginning.
Yep. That's all. I would always, if you can. Oh, sorry about that. If you can, I would always try to go to the farm. Go to a farm around in your area and see how they do it.
Yeah.
If you can't find a farm that's going to let you walk around on their farm, you might not want to be buying local produce.
Yeah, if you can't inspect to see where it's actually coming from.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's why one of the reasons our name is Honest Open Permaculture is because I'm always honest in what I'm growing, how I'm growing it, and I'm always open if you want to come by and take a walk.
Yeah.
Come on by. Let me know.
I love
Take
it.
a walk anytime.
I think there's such a big disconnect from what people put on their plate to where it actually came from in the process,
Yep. There is.
Yeah. What else we got from chat? Anything? Any questions or comments? Anybody wants to call in? Lines are open, 360-226-6297.
Glenn Mass just put it up. No, I was going to mention, when I was looking into the GMOs, I read about a corn, I forget, it's like a golden corn or something that they had made, supposedly to feed, masses of people after like this cataclysmic event, and I forget which country. But they sent all this corn over, and the farmers wouldn't take it. Like they were like pouring it out and burning it in the streets.
I think
Was
it's
it
Haiti. I think so, yeah.
Because
Good for them.
they'd had it previously, and it killed their land.
Yeah.
So they planted it, and then the land was unable to grow their simple crops that they had before. So I don't know all the ins and outs
It's
of
the
it.
Roundup,
but
right?
The Roundup Ready
Yeah,
crops.
I've not heard of that. That's awesome. Good for them. I'm glad they learned that. I
Yeah,
wish
so
we could learn that.
they refused to use it, and they were starving to death. But
Right.
here, it's easier, right? They Roundup Ready crops, so they have these corns and different crops that have the Roundup already in the plant.
Yeah, it's classified as a pesticide.
It's
yeah.
the plant itself is.
Yeah.
And then, but what's crazy because then we get bigger bugs and stronger bugs,
Right.
and then we get like super bugs. It's not a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're saying
we're trying to
glyphosate
outrun
poisoning
nature,
everything.
and they've had millions of years to do this, and we're not going to do it.
Yeah.
Not with GMOs and sprays and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. Like the permaculture techniques, like you just mentioned, with working with systems where the animals help to take care of the bugs and take care of the weeds, and like that's part of the use for pesticides, right? And sprays is to take care of the weeds and take care of the bugs. But if you work in a system that's built to help the other parts of the system, just like we talked about with using your chickens and your hogs and ducks, you solve that without having to use chemicals.
That's right. Yep, the chickens are great for that. Like I use what's called a chicken tractor. It's like my favorite one is a 4-foot by 8-foot chicken tractor, which fits perfectly over my bed.
Yeah.
And I can put 6 to 12 chickens in this chicken tractor, put them on the ground where I want to make a garden bed, let them eat the grass, the weeds, the bugs, and in turn fertilize out the back end.
Right.
And then I move them to another garden bed. So once they're done, once I move them off, I can cover that with some sort of mulch, because you have to cover the land with mulch.
Yeah.
Mother Nature is modest. If you don't cover Mother Nature, she's going to cover herself. And it's probably not going to be something you want to go there.
Right.
So you want to cover it with some mulch, and then when you're ready to plant, you move that mulch aside, you plant, and you're good to go.
Yeah.
But it cuts back so much work when you use systems, you use animals for your work, on how much you can get done. There's another guy named Justin Rhodes. If you ever follow any kind of homesteading, anyone on here follow homesteading, permaculture, or anything like that, you've heard that name, Justin Rhodes.
Yeah.
And he's really big in this kind of systems and teaches these sort of systems. He's here in North Carolina also. But he's kind of the one kind of turning me on to this kind of stuff, and it's been really eye-opening since I've learned how to use animal systems to make gardening easy. And he's got a series that with 10 hours a week, he grew 75% of his family's food for the year with 10 hours a week using animal systems.
10 hours, you're saying like 10 hours of manpower, like man labor?
Like 10 man hours, 2 hours a day for 5 days a week. And he grew 75% of his family's food. He's got a family of 4 kids.
Yeah.
His wife and 4 kids.
Yeah.
So it can be done. It can be done with little effort. The systems it does take a little bit of time to put those systems in place first.
Right.
And that's, I think, where a lot of people shy away. But once you get those systems built, they'll produce just like the forest. As easy as the forest. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's just going to grow as long as you stick with it, and you're going to build and add on to it until you have an abundant system that's sustainable, and then you take that abundance and supplement income to work on your independence in other areas, whether it's transitioning off the grid, energy-wise, and water collection, and financial independence, and even then transitioning completely to other means of transportation that are sustainable, to electric cars or whatever it may be, to you're completely independent of all these other dominant destructive systems. Hey, and we got a phone call.
Hello?
Hey, you're live on the air with Blind Justice and Bill from Honest Open Permaculture.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Hi, this is Minnesota Guardian. I don't know if you know who I am.
Yeah, how's it going?
Yeah, I just wanted to call in and see what you guys were talking about tonight.
We're talking about food independence and how to free yourself from different systems of control. And tonight's topic is on food. You're on actually a conference call, kind of. We've got a phone, and our friend in North Carolina, Bill, runs a farm, permaculture farm, and a YouTube channel, and he's been talking to the viewers tonight on how to work towards food independence and a system called permaculture. So have you heard of this term or any interested in food independence?
Well, I think that it'd be very hard for how society is now to be dependent on getting their own food. I feel like if everything was stripped away, like excuse me, like supermarkets and all that stuff, like how you buy food off of people, that was stripped from everybody's access. I feel like it'd be very hard for people to be able to be independent on getting their own food.
All right, Bill, you want to respond to that, Bill?
Yeah, I'd agree. I believe the state that we're in now, you're absolutely right. That's unfortunately probably what would happen. And if the trucks stop running, a lot of people would probably die. I think that's one good thing that we are talking about this now.
It's sad, things. But eventually, after we lost our independence and we lost our source of getting food and stuff, I feel like eventually we'd learn how to do it, and I feel like we'd go back to our roots since we know how to do it. It's just that we're not used to doing it.
So what do you think about what do you think about educating yourself now, Minnesota Guardian? What do you think about?
That's actually quite interesting topic.
Yeah. So that's why.
I never really thought about it.
Well, hopefully you check out this channel. It's called Honest Open Permaculture, and he's got videos up.
I'm so blind. I want to say I really love your stuff.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, check out the links in the description. Honest Open Permaculture on YouTube. He's got videos that he's doing. You're working on one now, right, Bill? With an 18-day.
For some reason, I'm not hearing you.
Oh.
Yep, 18-day compost is the Berkeley method of composting. How to make a compost in 18 days. The last video should be coming up tomorrow.
All right.
Hey, Minnesota Guardian, I lost you, but thank you for calling in.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks for calling in. That's a very good point. And with these kind of talks and more people learning and actually putting forth these permaculture techniques, I believe cities can get to that point in the future.
Yeah.
It's just something that has to be talked about, and the knowledge has to be spread, and the internet is a great source for that.
Yeah, we don't want to wait till
the information age, and the big governments and the big names are having trouble trying to keep this information quiet.
Yeah.
And it's slowly leaking out. So
yeah.
The more people know about it, the more people learn about it, the more people actually grow gardens in their front yards. I think that's a really good thing, is grow a garden in your front yard so other people can see it.
Yeah.
And then it's kind of like a snowball effect. It's kind of like an infection. People see it, they get interested, and they want to do it, and they talk about it, and it creates the conversation we need to be able to have more food independence.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and you don't want to wait till it's too late, right? You don't want to wait till it's like, oh crap, I don't know how to get food, and I need to try to figure it out now. Right? When you can learn, you can watch one of Bill's videos once a week and pick up a little bit of knowledge. Maybe mess around with something in your house or in your backyard or front yard, or I'm like, all right, yeah, I can do this. And
feel free to ask me any questions on any of my videos. If I don't know the answer, I'll help you find the answer. So
great.
Colleen T52 was curious what your thoughts on hydroponics, and Central Civilian Auditor, he left now, but was mentioning aquaponics earlier also.
I think they're cool. I think they're interesting. I have enough land, so I don't need to grow in aquaponics. Usually you find aquaponics or hydroponics in a smaller area.
Right.
For instance, if you had a apartment, you could probably do an aquaponics or hydroponics in there and grow some food. If you had a really small lot in the city, you could do the same thing and grow a lot more food. I'm not against it. I think it's a really cool concept, and there's a lot of aquaponics in permaculture.
Right.
Just as far as building a pond and having fish in that pond, and then using that pond water to water your plants because it's more nutritious, or growing things on top of the water that grow on top of the water that you can eat, like watercress.
Right.
There's a whole bunch of things you can grow in water. Cattails, you can eat cattails.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I've
absolutely. I love it. I haven't experienced it myself. I haven't done any of it myself, but I watched the videos on YouTube about it, and I really liked it.
Yeah, likewise. I've listened to several aquaponics, hydroponic systems integrated into permaculture, like people using ducks.
Yep.
And almost like a duck tractor. if you will. Like they drag like a little kiddie pond that they made for their ducks, so the ducks have water all the time to be happy, and then they take them over, and the ducks take care of the slugs and all that kind of the aspects, fertilizing and everything like that. And they're growing stuff in the pond, little kiddie pool with the ducks, like watercress and things like that. So it's really fascinating learning how to integrate all these different systems. Like they're not, like you said, they're not new. These are old systems that have been around for thousands of years. And
stuff like aquaponics and hydroponics would really be, specific. If you're in the desert, it's going to take a lot of water for this system. You're not going to have one of those systems. Or you probably shouldn't have one of those systems in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
Because it takes so much water.
Yeah.
But if you're in a wetland, why not?
Right.
It goes back to one of the first things you need to look at is your climate and your water situation.
Yeah. Absolutely. Cool. We got any other comments or questions for Bill? I know it's late on the East Coast.
There was some talk about marijuana earlier. They say free the weed.
Yeah, cannabis is not legal in North Carolina yet.
Nope.
There is a bill right now trying to go through the Supreme Court. It didn't go through last year. They amended it a little bit this year. It's a 3 ounce, 3 ounce maximum, where it will be decriminalized.
Yeah.
So last year was a 4 ounce. It didn't even go to the committee that is supposed to hear it. So hopefully this year it will. But I think it's a really cool cash crop, just not for the euphoric or the high that marijuana gives you, but for the uses for the hemp plant that we can get out of it. For the rope we can build, for the clothes we can build, for the buildings we can build.
Right.
There's research right now people building houses out of hemp. So I think there's a lot of things we can do with the cannabis plant that unfortunately our government has not allowed us to experiment with illegally.
Well, that goes to
it does worry me a little bit about the legalization of it, because it does take it out of the people's hands and puts it in the government's hands, which worries me a little bit about that, because the government doesn't do anything correctly, in my opinion, or messes up most things. So, but I think cannabis can be a really good thing.
Right. Well, that goes back to not just food independence, but just independence in general, and anything that you grow, whether you're going to eat it or use it as something to enjoy, or something for, like you said, growing for the hemp and the oils and all the different applications for construction and clothes and all that stuff. That there's, if you're growing enough stuff to make your own clothes or to build your house, there's so much application on what we can do without the systems of control that are in place. Predominantly, people that work for government agencies and try to say what you can and can't grow on your land, and there's some places where they try to say you can't catch water from the sky. Like, it's just crazy the level of control that people are ascribing to and just taking for granted, and maybe don't even realize it's happening.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, if they could, legalize it and take away the threat of violence.
I think that would be.
We're a long ways away from that.
Yeah, I think the terminology there is decriminalize. So if you decriminalize it, you take away the aspect of it being any part of it being criminal. Nobody wants to try to punish anybody for having a plant. That the stigma goes away. There is no system of control to punish anybody for growing it, for having it, for smoking it, for trading it, for whatever. It's just it's a plant.
Usually those decriminalization laws are pretty specific, and they still criminalize at certain levels.
Well, then that's not decriminalization. That's
I agree.
Partial.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
But that's not the way they work.
This is word games.
Yeah, I know.
Gimmicks.
All right, we got anything else for Bill before we let him go?
If I may have missed something, but I think I saw your email got tossed in here, so people can email you.
Yeah, it's definitely in the description.
Yeah, guys. Check the description. Click his videos and go subscribe real quick. We'll be here when you come back.
Yeah,
you can do it now.
Yeah,
do it later.
When we upload it, we'll make sure we'll have everything on the description perfect. But just one more time, we'll throw it out. Bill, what's the Facebook and the Gmail contact?
Yep. Facebook is Honest Open Permaculture. You can find me at Hop Farm NC, and the email is hopfarmnc@gmail.com.
All right, so Hop Farm NC on Facebook and hopfarmnc@gmail.com if you want to send Bill some questions or comments or support. Definitely go check out his YouTube channel. He's got videos that he pops out. Wait, how often? You've been doing them every few days with the compost pile.
Yeah,
but
I at least put out 2 a week right now.
Yeah.
With the 18-day compost, I've been putting out 2 or 1 every other day, and sometimes I've been throwing 1 in the middle there. So it's
Tony
at least I'm
Hilton
putting
super
out
chatted
$2 a week,
$1.99.
or
Check out
anywhere
Con,
from
Fat
like
Guinea
5 to
Pig,
6 a
Zone
week.
1 Livestock.
Cool.
Cool.
Thank you.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thanks
guys.
for being
Thanks for
on.
having me.
And yeah, hopefully the viewers will go check you out and learn more about food independence, permaculture, and your adventures and what you're doing there to try to live free and work towards independence in every way you can. So thanks for being on and sharing those thoughts and what you're doing. And power to you, brother.
Absolutely, man. Thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I love y'all, and we will keep in touch.
All right,
Yeah.
love you too, man. Have a good
Yeah.
night.
Right.
All right.
So
How long
looks
have we
like-
been going?
About an hour and 11 minutes.
Okay.
We had a call, but it didn't ring. It just said missed call.
All right.
So it happened like quite a few times now. So whoever is calling, I apologize.
Can you call back or no?
Well,
Option.
I can.
Give it a try.
All right, I'm gonna give it a try.
We're gonna try to call you back, caller.
What's going on? It's like freaking out at me.
All right, no worries. So, food independence, people. That's the topic for tonight. We're going to be trying to line up some other people to have on to talk about other forms of independence, such as energy and water and
Oh,
even educational independence and other things like that. So we're trying to help you guys think in terms of freedom and ways to not be dependent upon systems of coercion and violence, and ways to try to opt out and not contribute to those systems so that you can take responsibility for yourself, for your life, and be free. So we got...
oh, so there was some. I'm not sure if they were being silly in the chat earlier. They were saying that you're not the same Blind Justice because your beard is gone. But this is the same guy.
Yeah.
Just a side note.
All right.
Water should be free. It is
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
Just gotta catch it. That's Kmart. Defend phone on silent. No, no, it's not on silent. It's just being cranky.
Yeah, we're going to have to rework our phone
I shut it
system.
down and tried to restart it. So
Yeah.
you can feel free to try to call. And
We've-
I'll try
we've
to
had-
Oh,
Wait, one
speaking
coming
of,
in. All right. You get it this time?
hello. You're on the air with Blind Justice.
Hello there.
Yay!
I watched your video. Hi.
Hi.
I watched your video from earlier today.
Yeah.
Well, the one I believe I'm not sure if that happened today or not.
Oh, is
Was
it
that from today? Or?
at the Capitol in Olympia, Washington?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was on Friday. Yeah.
Yeah, that was appalling what you did to that poor woman. She didn't want to be. It's not unusual for people not to want to be have a camera in their face.
Uh-huh.
And you should try it with your mom or dad sometime. See how they like it.
Tried.
It's not a nice thing, and some
Try-
people just don't like it. That poor lady started
Yeah.
crying
Yeah.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
You continue to film her, of course, for no purpose really whatsoever, other than just to make her uncomfortable.
Oh, no, not absolutely not.
The comments, if you look at them for your video, I would say, I'm going to be conservative. I would say perhaps 30% of the comments are hateful, racist, sexist, violent comments against this lady. You want me to read you a few of the comments that your fine fans said about this poor lady?
No.
If you think they're destructive, I wouldn't read them.
Hear that, I wouldn't guess.
No, I mean, we don't support anybody mocking anyone or any calls for violence, but people are free to say what they want. We try to stop any calls for violence and action against people. But people are
Well, that's what your base wants. That's what your racist, sexist base wants. Take a look at the comments sometimes, or have someone tell you about the comments.
Why do you think that's the base?
Because that makes up the vast bulk of your comments.
When you say vast bulk, what numbers are you talking about?
I shouldn't say vast bulk. I should say a large percentage. It's more like perhaps 30% of the comments.
Okay. Yeah, sure. There's gonna be people that want to express negative emotions and do so in ways that probably aren't the most productive or healthy. But they're free to do that. As long as they're not calling for violence and for actual harm to be done. That's the metric
sure,
that we.
Some of them are.
Okay.
I should make that clear. Some of them are calling for violence.
All right. Well, if you can send us, those, because we try to stop those or block those. So
Whenever I catch those, I'll try to delete them or remove them from the page because we don't want that.
It's not just that. This poor woman ended up getting these comments about how she looked, etc. For no reason. You did nothing. She did nothing to you to deserve that. She was doing her job. She doesn't like cameras in her face. When someone does that, you should at least understand, at least be human enough to understand that some people just don't like cameras in their face. It doesn't have to do with your ridiculous conspiracy theories about the government. It just has to do with human nature. I don't like for people to put cameras in my face and video me.
Sure.
And yes, it doesn't matter. And someone said this on your comments that it doesn't matter that you're in your rights, that it's legal what you're doing. That means nothing. You weren't accomplishing anything. And most of your pedantic, ridiculous, the things that you claim to want, you don't help yourself by courting the most violent, racist. Have someone read you how many times people referred to this poor lady about how she looked.
Yeah.
That's what you attract. That's what you are.
Okay. Why do you attribute somebody else's words and comments to me?
Because that's what you attract, and I've seen you in action. You do not actually want a result. You want to have a confrontation.
And what are you basing that off of?
From watching your videos.
And so, do you know how many places that we've gone to where they've been peaceful, pleasant interactions with people not freaking out about the camera, not calling the police? That's actually the majority of the videos that we have up. Is that kind of interaction? Sure. That's what we want. That's exactly what we want.
No, it's not what you want. Believe me, that's not what you want.
Then why would we post it?
You don't know what you want. You want views. You want to expand this channel. You want this hobby of yours to grow because that's what you now desire. That's your thing now.
Really?
That's your job.
So what are you basing this off of?
From watching you in action.
Okay.
But you just said that you watch the videos where we want peaceful interactions. We have peaceful interactions.
Yeah.
You've seen those. And there's a lot of those. So
sure.
I'm just not. I think there's a disconnect here.
Yeah.
There was some value to auditing. Originally, I was very much enthused by auditing and thought it was a good thing. But what's happened is that the movement is toxic. One of the main auditors is a convicted rapist, and he's hidden. Has been hidden, and he's still supported by other auditors in the auditor community.
So again, how does this have to do with what you perceive about what we're doing? And I don't know who you are. I don't know if we've talked before, and if where you're getting your information about my desires. Like you're making claims about what I want, which is funny because my partner here. What do I want?
You don't want.
So she has a pretty good handle on what I want or don't want, and I typically don't have many desires or wants. I simply try to highlight areas where there's suffering and call for there to be an end of suffering, and that's it.
Not at all. If we're seeing you in action, you're either not very good at it, or that's not what you want. Because what you do is you go in and pedantically question people, and you're not even questioning honestly. You're repeating questions after people have answered the question for you many times.
Okay. Do you have an example of that?
All you want to do is have. Sure. Your videos are replete with this exact thing.
Okay. Give a specific example.
Should be easy.
I watched you in an interaction with the police, with a policeman, and he over and over told you exactly what the reason you were taken out of the city council meeting, and you asked him over and over again why. He already had told you the reason, and the fact that you were not interested in an answer, you were interested in arguing.
Okay. I don't know if that's one of our videos, because I don't remember having a discussion where I repeated a question of why there was a removal.
Well, I don't have the exact quote. I did manage. I tried to post in your chat exact quotes from your fans and your comments, but you didn't want whoever's moderating that didn't want to hear that. They put me in timeout for posting exact quotes from your fans.
Well, I didn't block them, but I did see that you were the only person in the chat there for a while posting a lot of derogatory stuff about people. I realized they were quotes. I realized it, but you were filling up the chat with a lot of quotes that were negative and destructive and mean, and those aren't the things we want to highlight. So we do not call. We don't ask.
That was directly from your comments.
Okay, but
Comments on your videos.
I hear you. I'm absolutely not arguing that. I don't doubt that. I know there's lots of comments from lots of people, but why highlight those comments if you think that they're negative and destructive?
Because that's what the toxic community is all about.
But you promoting them, but
Right,
you're promoting it
Right.
by reposting it, by talking about it, by giving it attention, by speaking on it on the air. Like, you realize that perpetuates it, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Really? So was Frederick Douglass promoting it by mentioning the problems with slavery? Was he promoting slavery by mentioning that's an idiotic argument.
Okay. So
Mother Teresa.
So how so? Yeah. Go ahead.
Mother Teresa, they asked her if she was against war, and she said she wasn't against anything. I'm not giving a direct quote,
Yes.
but she did mention she doesn't want to be against anything. She's
Are you still
for peace.
Yeah, we're still here.
Can you hear us? So I think sometimes when we get another call, it like cuts out
I
the
don't know.
volume.
Can
Are
you
you
hear
still
us?
there?
Hello?
Hello.
We can still hear you.
Check. Can you hear us? Can you do something with the thing?
Let's
All right.
see.
It's all right.
It's an unknown number because I can't call it back.
Okay. Just send it. It's fine.
I can't hear you, and I don't know if you can hear me.
All right. We can hear you.
You go ahead to Mother Teresa.
Okay, but if I'm recalling it correctly, basically she was saying that she's not against things, she's for things, because by being against something, that's putting all of your energy and focus and energy into the thing that you're against. And why not redirect that and be for something? So we're for freedom, and you'd be for peace.
Right.
And so she would put all of her energy and love and all of that into the thing she's for, peace, because that which you resist persists.
Yeah.
Here's a different number.
Okay.
Hey.
Hi, you're live on the air with Blind Justice.
Hey, Blind, this is MG again.
Hey, what's
Hey.
going on?
Yeah. I just wanna. Before I don't know we lost connection. I just really wanted to express how much gratitude I have towards you for doing what you do with certain circumstances that it's amazing that you go out there, you don't know what's happening, but you're still doing it because you want to stand up for your rights, and it's absolutely crazy. Like the video where the guy trapped you in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have been scared. I really would have. And I just want to say thank you for doing what you do, man. It's really heartwarming.
Yeah, appreciate it. We try to highlight areas where there's.
I don't know if you guys lost me again.
Can you hear us?
Are you there? Hello. That's so
We're
weird.
struggling with the phone connection. Sorry.
I can't hear you guys. It's after a while that I can't hear you.
Yeah.
Man,
All right.
it's when another call comes in.
Oh, really?
I think so because
Okay.
it overlaps
If
and
you
it
just want to
cuts us out.
respond on stream.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do that. Yeah, no, thanks for calling in, Minnesota Guardian, and for any work that you're doing to promote freedom and highlight areas where there are systems of control in place to prevent freedom or to block freedom, and that's what we do. And there are definitely times where I find myself in situations where it's not going peaceful, where the response isn't peaceful, and I definitely try to find ways to de-escalate and find the peaceful resolution to those.
She's freaking out.
Who broke it?
All right, I'm gonna try it a different way. I hear you ringing. It's not letting me click. Are you there?
All right.
All right, hang on. I'm gonna try to switch it around.
Okay.
So you guys keep chatting and I'll work on some stuff.
Well, yeah, I can talk more about to the guy that was making the points, about the comments on the channel.
Yeah, I
you
do
know.
want to touch that again.
Okay.
So, go ahead.
So we don't claim any kind of ownership of anything or anybody. So if we manage the channel, and people want to put comments on there, sharing their opinion, as long as it's not a call for violence or action against other people, destroying life or causing harm to life or property, then you're free to do that. It's definitely not going to be the flavor or tone or words that I would use, but that's why there's variety,
Ready? No.
What?
Pushed it too hard. Okay.
But yeah, the whole that which you resist persists is kind of a principle, and we don't try to highlight, or intentionally don't highlight the comments that are judgmental and abusive. We do try to mine or find out, be aware of the ones that are called for violence. We try to block those and prevent those from happening. But to equate that to taking a stance against tyranny or slavery is I don't see the correlation. Obviously, we're calling out systems of oppression, right? We're saying we need to stop doing that. People need to disengage from those systems, stop feeding it. And when you go to do that and you have somebody that works at the front line or at a desk of a system that extorts people, and they are not emotionally stable to work at a front desk and engage with the public, they probably need to find another line of work. Whether it's in the public or private sector, if you can't handle dealing with people face to face and having a camera, probably need to find another line of work. So, still trying to get the
I'm not here.
phone go.
I'm getting it.
Yeah. No, I don't support any kind of judgment or name calling of any kind. So, to be clear, I denounce that behavior because I don't think it's going to help anybody.
Sure.
I don't think it's beneficial or healthy. And I guess we could make more of a broad statement on, to the fans or to the viewers or to the people who make comments, to please don't use the forum of the channel to mock or insult or.
Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
There we go. See if we
We
get
got
that.
one.
you guys on this time?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you.
Hey.
Kind of, sort of.
Hi, you're live with Blind Justice.
Hey. Hey, guys. It's, Ken from the chat.
Hey, Ken.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of make a rebuttal against that. Well, first off, I want to say that I saw the notification, but it didn't say live, so I thought you just uploaded a video, and I was like, I'll check it out later. And then I checked my phone. I got the notification on my computer, but then I checked my phone and it said live, and I was like, oh, wow, I missed an hour of the live stream. So I don't know what's up with YouTube doing that. It didn't say it was live.
Yeah, we've been getting that a lot
But
from
then I
people.
would like to,
Yeah, we've been hearing the same thing from other people.
Okay. So yeah, okay, good. You're aware of that. And then I would like to have a rebuttal against that guy that was going on when I first came in, the troll caller or whatever he was. And I'm assuming he's talking about the video you uploaded today with the girl crying because you guys went into a public building and were filming.
Yeah.
I said it in the comment section in that video, and I'll say it here live on the air. Yo, if you can't handle a camera being in your face, then don't take a government job. Go work in the private sector. Don't take taxpayers' money, because when you do that, you're submitting to the will of the federal court's rulings, which say that we as citizens have every right to film you. And if you can't deal with that, then you need to piss off and go to a different job. Go work at Burger King or something where, you know, you can tell the people they can't come in and do that. But if you're in a public building, even if you're in a public place, man, if you have a problem with that, then you shouldn't go out in public, because as soon as you walk out your front door, you can be filmed. And you guys can look this one up. I don't hide. I don't care if I'm doxxed or whatever. I live in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, Amish country. But I live in the city of Lancaster. And if you look that up, this city is the most watched city per capita. There are cameras on every corner that can see into people's houses. No joke. What happened was a cop got killed, and the city freaked out, and they went all Orwellian and put video cameras literally on every corner. There's an LA Times article even about it. This city is the most watched city in the entire country.
Oh.
Also, we have the highest refugee population in the entire country, too. That's just a side note. Like, nothing political about that. I just thought that was kind of interesting that Lancaster, PA is the place where all the refugees want to come to. But, so, like, I can't even walk out my door without being filmed. I can't even sit in my apartment without a government camera being able to see through my front window. Like, that's kind of messed up.
Yeah.
So, that girl has a problem being videotaped. She should become a shut-in, never leave her house, and then she won't have to ever worry about it again.
No,
what you guys did, there
Ken,
was nothing wrong.
Ken, do you really think that it... And, you know, I think I agree with where you're coming from on a lot of things, but just out of curiosity,
You're
do you...
pretty choppy. I can't hear you.
Oh, no. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I'm going to hang up.
Okay.
I'll listen on the stream for your response. You're
All right.
very choppy, but thank you for the time.
Yeah. Yeah, so my response, Ken, and maybe you can send a response in chat if you want, but I don't think that it would be best for people that are struggling to do jobs in the public sector with cameras from the public. I don't think it'd be best for them to become shut-ins, right? I don't think it'd be good for them, like healthy for them, or for the public in general. I think there's probably some other issues going on.
Can we answer it?
Sure.
Well, I didn't need it fast enough.
I think there's some other issues going on, and there's probably ways of helping that person through those issues so that they can function in public.
Washington.
Hey, you're live on the air with Blind Justice.
You are fake news.
What was that? Your fake news?
False and fake. It's all fake news.
That's a. It's either a soundboard or it's just something.
Oh,
Cool.
well,
Thank
thanks
you.
for calling.
Probably China.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. So I think we can find ways to help people that are struggling with, a camera and accountability, to cope with that and figure out what the underlying issue is. That's why I asked the lady, like, hey, where's that coming from? Where's this uncomfortability coming from? How can I help you try to overcome that? And instead of trying to provoke, just trying to address the concern, and maybe we can mitigate the concern. We talked about this the other day in terms of sexual harassment, in the workplace. If you're in a work environment and you feel like you were sexually harassed by someone, the first step is to inform the person, like, hey, that's sexual harassment. Stop doing that. And if the person's like, well, what's sexual harassment? What are you talking about?
Hey, you're live with Blind Justice. Well. Hey,
Hi.
are you there?
Yes,
Will you
this
turn
is
the...
Ozark Hillbilly. I am so impressed on what you do. I have a neighbor 2 doors up because he lost his eyes in an accident, and he works in a restaurant, but I am so impressed at what you do.
Can you mute your computer?
I love auditing, but I can't even get out of bed anymore.
Oh.
Believe me, all I'm able to do is donate to people, and I just did you on PayPal. I do this for a lot of people. That's all I can do.
Oh,
Love you, buddy.
Thank you.
thank you.
Love both of you.
Appreciate it.
You're more than welcome. Gonna hang up and you go on.
All right.
I
Okay.
love listening to you guys. I do. I have so many. I've got over 500 people that I follow, and I can't take it with me. It's getting that bad. So who cares?
Yeah.
Let me share it on.
Well, appreciate it, and thank you for calling and for the support.
You're more than welcome. Live strong.
You-
Live strong is all I can say.
All right, you too.
Bye.
Take care.
No, so the sexual harassment in the workplace. If you think that somebody did something that's sexual harassment, the first step is
Right.
to address it and say, hey, stop doing that. That's sexual harassment. And then if the person is confused, like, well, what are you talking about? What am I doing is causing the harassment or that you believe to be harassment? And if the person can't say what it is, if they can't say this action is harassment, stop. This is the cause of my...
We need to build a wall.
The soundbite thing again. Soundboard.
Yeah.
Keeps ringing up as Washington D.C. and then Trump clips if somebody's playing.
That's pretty funny.
But if you don't address it, if you don't say this particular action is harassment, stop doing it, then the person doesn't know what to fix, doesn't know where that source of animosity is coming from or perceived harassment is. And simply saying that the camera is intimidation or is a source of harassment isn't verifiable. It's not. You can't validate that. There's something else going on with the other person perceiving the camera as a threat, perceiving the camera as harassment, perceiving the camera as intimidating, right? That's something going on with the person that has that perception. And so then you can try to address why they perceive that and maybe help correct that perception.
Greenland plus 2999.
Greenland.
Hi, you're live on the air with Blind Justice.
Yes, this is No Faith. I'm calling back in. I got cut off there
No
earlier.
Faith. Yeah, we
I
can
don't know
hear
if
you,
wanna
but
talk more.
you couldn't hear
I don't know if
us.
you want to talk more or not. You can let me know.
Yeah. Yeah, I can hear you.
Well, all I would say is that there's a principle of charity that you can sometimes use when you're on these confrontations with people that would certainly make me respect you a lot more than I do now, which is almost zero. A poor lady who claims that she just doesn't want the camera in her face, you can have use the principle of charity to say, okay, I understand that, and perhaps give that person a break.
Yeah.
Still there?
Yeah, can you hear us? Can you hear us? Hello, hello?
Once again, I can't hear you.
No.
We're here. We're trying. Is this better? Can you hear now?
I can. You guys are breaking up quite a bit.
Aw, man.
I think I've really said most of what I think. I think what you mentioned earlier about how you can only, you can try to put a spotlight on the good. That's certainly a reasonable and viable way to go about things. But when there's a lot of bad, and believe me, there's a lot of bad in the auditor community, that kind of stuff can be pointed out too, and both approaches are equally legitimate. And what you're doing is, to my mind, it's not honest, and it's not seeking honesty. It doesn't come from honesty. When that poor lady told you she didn't want the camera in her face, you could have immediately said, okay, well, I understand that. Some people don't like a camera in their face. And you could have gone on about your business. There would have been nothing different about that, what you accomplished with that audit. Those people were super nice to you in that building. They told you all kinds of information, which you really didn't want to know in the first place. You just wanted to have the audit, right?
No, are you still there? Hello?
Oh my goodness, I can't hear you guys.
All right.
So anyway, I've said my piece.
Yeah, I'll answer on the...
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Yeah. So no, if you go back to some of the first videos on our channel, it's informational. So I think there's a lot of confusion, right? You just keep throwing around the term audit and auditor, and I've never claimed that title of auditor, right? I may do some things with auditing as one of the goals, and typically when we do that, that's probably going to be in the title somewhere. But a lot of times we do a mixture of things, informational, educational, sometimes auditing, and so some of the early videos on this channel were strictly informational, where it was going in to find out how to do a records request, at City Hall. And so you go in asking, like, hey, how do you do this? What's the process? And so that's why those questions were what they were Friday, for both counters. And there was two different responses. One counter, the lady said, well, similar responses, said she didn't want to be on camera, but then she gave the information about what they do. The other counter, the lady said she didn't want to be on camera, and she gave a little bit of information, and then she stopped. She closed up. So it was going the same, and then for some reason something triggered with her, and she went away. So I think what's interesting is that if I don't know how much of the video you watched, No Faith, but it kind of highlights the importance of people at that Department of Licensing counter being able to inform the public of what they can do at that location, because there were other customers there that were confused about what they can do at the location. There's a handful of people that came in as we were there trying to pay bills or pay fees or renew licenses and do things like that, and they don't do that at that location, right? They do it at other locations. So with this video out, hopefully we can find, if they would have given us the information about what exactly they can and can't do there, then we would have that information to spread and say, hey, don't go to this location. They don't do this. Go to these other locations.
This is true. Hey, you're on the air with Blind Justice.
I know you can't crash me. I've got 210 ATI.
I can't even.
I didn't know that one was.
I couldn't understand it. And then we were getting another call, which might have actually been a person.
Yeah, so there's
Trolls are coming in on the phone today.
Yeah, there's different purposes or goals for the different videos, and it's not always linear or even obvious. If you try to paint it in a broad stroke brush, it's easy to discount, saying, "Oh, it's an auditor, and as an auditor, you got to do this, this, and this," and that's just not the case, So.
No, you're a human.
Yeah.
Going and interacting with humans.
That might be Ken again. Hey, is that Ken?
Yeah, this is me. It's Ken.
Hey, what's up?
Sorry, I just had to mute you guys. I wanted to respond to the troll comment, the troll caller again.
Yeah.
He keeps saying like, "Oh, well, you guys could have just, not put camera in your face." What does this guy not understand? She's a public servant. She's in a public place. She's paid with your tax dollars, and you have every right to document her and her inability to perform her job duties. You have that right. She's paid with your money. So why does this guy keep calling? And I don't know if he's a troll or just an idiot, but he doesn't seem to get that through his skull. So hopefully, if he hears me say it this time instead of you guys, it might register in his head.
No.
So, anyway, I love what you guys do on your videos. I think they're awesome. Keep doing it. You guys do nothing wrong, and you are by far one of the most calm and collected, quote-unquote, auditors I have seen ever on any video. Like, I've had to tell, what is it, Auditing America in his videos, like, he needs to bring it down some because he's making stuff look like a jackass. You are always professional. You are always cordial. You do great, man. So keep up the good work.
All right, thanks, Ken.
Yep. Have a great night, guys.
You too.
You too.
Yeah, no, just to follow up on that, I think he gets it. I think No Faith gets it, understands that there's he even said that, I think, at one point. It's not about being within, the law. It's about the civility, the human encounter, and Taz, and I definitely don't want people to be, upset. Like, we genuinely felt for the lady and the condition she was in, but she's just not suited for that line of work. So hopefully she finds something where she can be at peace or be at ease and not be so excited or excitable.
Miami, Florida.
Okay.
Hey, you're live with Blind Justice.
Hey, this is awesome. Hello. Yeah, so I just wanted to, first of all, comment on the gentleman that had a different opinion with what you do. Hold on, give me just 1 second. I just want to be able to see you guys.
Okay.
We'll be behind.
So, sorry, because I heard him talking. I thought he was talking. So I just want to say I would like to state my opinion on that. That's all. And I would like to say I feel as if he's trying to appeal to the emotional aspect of it, or maybe that at least feelings aspect of it. And that very well could maybe make some people want to side with him. But what I would like to say to that is, yes, he does have the right of it. But the argument that he's trying to bring up is, even though he has the right, he could, if someone's telling him, please, he should appeal to the kindness aspect of it and be nice to the person. And what I would say to that is, that's really a difference of opinion. And we difference between people like the support Arling, I believe, and people like that is the fact that a lot of us understand that when you have a difference of opinion, you know, you can't enforce your opinion or your will upon someone else. You can't make your opinion, you know, supersede facts, which is the Constitution. You shouldn't. You know, it's really what he doesn't see by not putting himself in someone else's shoes and trying to understand someone else's aspect is that what he's saying is an opinion. And yes, it makes sense. It could make sense in some scenarios and maybe not in other scenarios. But you can't force your opinion upon someone else and say that they should have that opinion, especially not if you're not intensively trying to listen to them or have a healthy debate with them to try to understand where they're coming from and come to a common understanding to what might possibly actually truly be the best thing for humanity, not just for yourself, not just for what you think or what they think, what truly is, honestly, truthfully, the right thing to do.
Yeah. Thanks for your opinion. And can you hear me?
Hello?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can barely hear you guys.
Okay, well,
You guys using like a magic jack or something?
I don't.
I
know.
There's no way. It feels like almost like a magic jack. It sounds like if you're talking through the internet. I wish I could listen to your response. Well, I kind of can listen to your response through the video.
Yeah, do it through the video.
But it takes a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, so the response to the caller, he was saying basically there's difference of opinions on what is proper decorum, and you know, from the other caller saying it was improper and we should have catered to the lady because she was having an emotional reaction. And it's interesting. My response is we tried to discuss it with her. We tried to empathize with her and ask her, you know, to elaborate where that source of intimidation was coming from, and she didn't want to engage with that. So we were left, you know, without answers on where to go from there. So if somebody is gets emotional, or is emotionally triggered because of the color black, and you happen to be wearing black, does that mean you need to go change your clothes?
Let me put it this way. So, for example, like if I'm working in a public space, so let's say I'm sitting in the woman's chair, and I have a intense fear of beards, and I'm not saying this to be trivial. I'm sincere. Like, let's say I was raped by someone who had a beard, and I'm truly afraid of people who have beards. Okay, so I'm not to minimize anything here. So that's serious, right? That's a serious concern. And someone comes in who has a beard. Well, if I'm going to do my job, if I'm going to hold this position, I can overcome this personal thing that I have against beards, but I cannot expect the person that just came in to shave their beard. Like, that would be, you can't, I mean, it just doesn't work that way, right? So that's not the person who came in's fault. So they didn't make me feel scared. That's my own thing. Like, that's something I have to deal with within myself, not take it out on them and say, well, you shouldn't have had a beard. Like, it's just...
Yeah.
Call?
Sure, take a call.
We'll try another one. Oh. You are live with Blind Justice.
Oh. Hey, it's Sarah.
Hi.
Oh.
Okay, so I'm just going to come out and say this. We had such a great day together, and I thought we were really clicking, and then you
It's okay. We'll just let it play.
What the
Oh,
hell?
Sarah. You're a wonderful person.
It's really
Have a good night.
that you enjoy playing with people's hearts like this. I've been crying
Oh, that reminded me. I wanted to clarify. A minute ago I said something. I said, like, the trolls are thick tonight. I was not referring to any person I have spoken to on the phone. I was only referring to computers. So, no, Faith, I wasn't calling you a troll. Just to be clear. You're live with Blind Justice. All right. I'm going to be real here. I'm over the phone for right now.
All right, you can shut it down.
I love you all.
All right.
Because that was another one. And
So, any last thoughts from anybody in the chat? Still hanging
they've
out?
been typing and I haven't been reading because I was
Yeah.
talking and whatnot. Let's see here. Well, they're having this debate about the Bible. That's been happening for a while. We won't jump in on that one. Well, I mean, I don't want to. Let's see. No Faith is in here chatting. Ken. Yeah, they're having their own conversation. I'll find something and let you know if I find something.
No, you're good.
Okay.
Well, just to review, we had Bill from Honest Open Permaculture. It's a permaculture farm in North Carolina, and he talked about different principles that he's using on his farm. He's been doing for, I think, 2.5 years, and ways he's trying to live free with food independence. And so if you missed that part of the video, it's going to be the first bulk of the video. And definitely check out his channel on YouTube, Honest Open Permaculture. There's links to some of his videos in the description. And if you have questions for him, you can reach out to him at hopfarmnc@gmail.com, and on Facebook, hopfarmnc. So again, thanks to Bill for coming on the show and talking to us about food independence and what he's doing for that, and for the callers that wanted to come in and call in and engage and ask questions, even if it's a difference of opinion, and for everybody in the channel that's been chatting back and forth. Thanks for all the engagement and for the supporters.
Do we want to let them ask the questions for a minute?
Does
anybody have any questions? Because I've kind of neglected you guys tonight a little
Anybody
bit.
that's typing in on the chat, if they want to ask a question.
Did we pick the design winners? No, I didn't get any designs.
Yeah, not yet.
Thanks for asking, because I forgot to mention it again. So the contest, I guess, is I want some T-shirts. I thought it'd be fun to do some T-shirt designs and maybe sticker designs, and you can email them to us if you have an awesome design. And then the one we pick will get a free T-shirt. So
yeah.
Yep. But our email insight is free@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Oh, let's see. Your names could be Blind Justice and Fine Justice.
Oh, yeah.
That's fun.
Nice.
Who is the young gentleman talking with Mrs. Justice? I know, right? I always feel younger when he shaves his beard.
Yeah.
Yeah, because your beard ages me, too.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know, maybe it doesn't, but...
Power of the beard.
Can I send you one of my designs that I already use on my web store? Ken asked.
Yeah.
Sure. Send me whatever you want.
Is that it? Winding down?
Yeah. We got 67 people hanging out.
Yeah.
One of the higher numbers for tonight. See, some people love the no beard. Some people are really mad at you about the no beard. Yep. I'd like to see you get together with Eric Bryant. You both have great legal minds.
Oh, yeah. Eric in Colorado. That'd be fun. I've been wanting to do some traveling and collaboration, and probably will a lot this year. Just it's gonna have to be after probably a month or two, a few months maybe. I don't know. I have to figure out what's going on locally.
Yeah.
But
all right, last call for questions. Anybody got a current, like, now question. Oh, somebody did ask for a PUD update a while back.
Nothing really
Never
new
had
since
one.
last live, I don't think.
No, we did talk about maybe doing a live and reading different public records requests we've gotten filled.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll do that sometime in the midweek or something.
Yeah.
I have to pull them up and, like, get them in order before I can. Yeah, it'd take me a minute, so.
Sure.
Yeah. Let's see. Freedom hat, question mark.
Yes, Freedom. If you like the Freedom hat, you can find this and other merch to support Freedom at thefreedomline.com. There's a book there that you can read for free. Talks about freedom and some of the big obstacles to freedom.
Yes. King Possum said, draw up a release form stating that you have permission to use the design, and by entering, you agree for no compensation except the prize you win when the design is chosen. Ugh. I didn't think about that. Blah. I don't like contracts.
Yeah.
Have we ever covered what caused Mr. Justice to go blind? If so, could you tell me what video it was in? If it's not something you're comfortable addressing, I understand, just curious. That was John Galt.
Yeah, I can give you that real quick. It started after a brain injury, and I had several brain injuries. So after the last, well, not currently the last one, but after a large one, noticed a shift in vision, some double vision, and then a bunch of head pain, and the head pain's really never gone away. It comes and goes in intensity, and the vision has gone down since that that's the last one, since that particular head injury. I've had other bonks on the head and things since that point, but
some related to not being able to see.
Right. Yeah. Tripping over things and wrecking bicycles and stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
As I was losing my vision, so it was a gradual loss from that point in, I think, 2012 till now. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Sorry, I keep yawning. The same phone number keeps calling.
Yeah. Okay. I think
It's
we're
the
going
robot.
to end it for the night.
Yeah.
Thanks everybody for tuning in.
Sorry, I think Roy, just popped in and said hi.
Hi.
So we're not leaving because you're here.
Yeah, we've just been on for a while, and we covered our topics we wanted to discuss, answered some phone calls, been getting a lot of robot calls, so we're going to shut the phone stuff down and call it a night for you guys. But if you have other questions and stuff, please reach out at insideisfree@gmail.com.
I got a good question before you close. All right, Rising Sun Media. How do you, Blind Justice, how do you stay so calm in all of the situations you deal with? What's your secret?
Mindfulness.
This will be the last question unless I find another one.
I practice mindfulness. So I try to be aware of here and now and my senses, physical senses, and my mind, like thoughts and emotions. And I recognize that things outside of me are happening, and don't have to let those things impact me mentally or emotionally, or even physically. There's ways of mitigating physical damage by you see or hear or notice a threat, then you avoid the threat, right? If I hear a bus coming, I'm not going to step out in front of the bus, right? If I'm crossing the road and I hear a car coming, I'm going to move faster through the intersection or stop, depending on where I am in the intersection. So learning to recognize what it is, and adjust, not letting outside things control me, control my emotions or my thoughts or my actions. But so yeah, the practice of mindfulness, and there's all kinds of literature because it goes back 2,500 years. So thanks for the question.
That's all I got.
All right. Well, we're going to sign off. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks. Big shout out to Taz News Tacoma for Cooperation Friday. And
check out his channel.
Yeah, he's got a great channel. And for Bill from Honest Open Permaculture, was our guest tonight and gave us some great tips and information on what he's doing for food independence. So if you missed that part of the show, it's going to be in the beginning part. Check out the links to his page and the description.
Honest Open Permaculture.
And you guys have a wonderful night. Peace and love. And Deo Presto Liber.